When Rambo Last Blood was released in September 2019, audiences around the world were surprised on how deep and incredibly dark this film truly was. Considering we now live in a current movie environment ruled by bathos, constant humor, fan fiction, video game theatrics, agenda activism-driven narratives, and superheroes, films like Rambo Last Blood are very rare to come by and get made in this current day and age in the movie landscape. And I think that was one of the main reasons why a lot of audiences praised this film so much, considering that this film was arguably miles above just about almost every movie that came out in 2019. Rambo Last Blood was not only a dark action film, it was an incredibly genuine one. Unlike the previous sequels in the Rambo franchise, which were masculine, bombastic action cinema with good storytelling with great dramatic impulses and thematic messages, Last Blood was a grounded, self-contained narrative tale. In other words, this was a Rambo film where John Rambo can be killed. He's not the action hero god we all know the character is, which was a nice creative change of pace and great narrative perspective. And not only does that make a viewer completely invested in the character and story, but by default creates tension and concern. Mindless action heroes in movies and narratives can be passable to a certain degree, but they're superior when they are more realistic. And that's what Last Blood is genuinely. You feel the pain, the emotion, hear all of it, and see all of it. And that is a prime example of near-perfect storytelling, more so than the fifth film in a franchise by logic should ever be. It is a small film with a collection of extremely compelling individual scenes that pull you in right away and never let go until the ending and post-credits. Scenes that rank among the best I've seen in the Rambo movie franchise. And that's what we're going to take a closer look at. What the filmmakers did to make this Rambo film incredibly emotional, captivating, and how they combined these storytelling techniques to create a memorable action film. Rambo Last Blood is a Rambo film through and through. It follows the same narrative formula that all the previous entries in the franchise have all done. John Rambo is retired and wants to move on, but one way or another he gets pulled back into what he is known for and does what he does best.
With a man who's the best. With guns, with knives, with his bare hands. A man who's been trained to ignore pain, ignore weather.
Despite this classic narrative formula in the Rambo series, the concepts are executed differently in each film, and Last Blood is no exception. But Last Blood takes its narrative to a whole new level by making the story a personal one. Rambo is pulled back into action to hunt down and rescue one of his family members, and along the way experiences incredible suffering, great pain, and sorrow. And what makes this movie so emotional is how well it develops its protagonist, as well as all of its supporting characters. One of the popular criticisms about Last Blood was the film's main antagonists, the Martinez brothers, and how one-dimensional they both were as characters and not totally fleshed out. And to a certain degree, I concur with this criticism, however, objectively, it actually benefited the film a lot more. Because Rambo Last Blood is not a classic hero versus villain story, hence why, objectively, there wasn't necessarily any real need to spend a lot more time learning more about their characters. As I mentioned earlier, Rambo Last Blood is a self-contained film. A film about a story that is relatable with a hero and characters that audiences can identify with and feel for. It is a human drama focused on a character that is always changing, evolving, and going through trials and tribulations with a lot of weight and performance. It's not a generic cookie-cutter movie where you don't understand the character's psyche, like in a comic book movie, for example. It's a film about a character that has flaws, a checkered past with issues having to do with what he has gone through his life. And director Adrian Grunberg understood that in order to make this film really work, as well as emotional, which is what they were going for, they had to get the actors' performances right. And all the performances from the cast, besides Sylvester Stallone himself, who was one of the only two recognizable actors in the whole film respectively, really do elevate the material, as well as the scoring by composer Brian Tyler, perfectly matching what is happening on screen, making a score that reflected reflected the tone that director Grunberg set so beautifully, creating a tonal tension that was both challenging and rewarding. Especially for an emotional, compelling narrative for a timeless character, it is a simple, enclosed, tight film with action about humanity, with perfect real performances about a single man forced to fight against scary people for the evils they've done.
I'm coming to get you.
Revenge is a dish best served cold, and audiences throughout history have found this to be so appealing in motion picture entertainment as simple and dramatically satisfying, where a protagonist has a great injustice inflicted upon them, and usually by the end of the story, the injustice is resolved to a reckoning where the antagonist or vile characters pay for the evils done against the hero. The Rambo franchise uses vengeance in a unique way. Vengeance is used as a course of action of choice by the protagonist, instead of being the basis of an entire feature-length story. John Rambo is an honorable person with a very high sense of justice and rejects all fighting and violence around him, and that is the main point about Rambo since the first film to Last Blood. But he gets pulled into the middle of circumstances that force him to fight, and that's why audience members adore John Rambo's character.
You sold her out. She was your friend.
Fuck you! Get out of my place!
The revenge doesn't start until the beginning of the third act of the film, where Rambo goes to visit character Carmen Delgado, played by Paz Vega. The revenge starts here because Rambo says he wants revenge, and similar to all the previous Rambo films, this course of action by Rambo is motivated due to another character or characters who experience similar circumstances of great injustice against them. Rambo uses this as a symbol for revenge not only for himself, but for all who have experienced great cruelty as well, even if the other characters in the films tell John Rambo otherwise.
Have you not seen enough death? Go. Go while you can. This is not your war.
It is now.
If someone sees you, we both will die. Coming back here is so dangerous.
Which creates some strong, compelling moments and turn the supporting companion characters into the most sympathetic ones at the end. A great creative design to subvert audience expectations. Since John and Carmen both lost family members to the same injustice, this creates an emotional and powerful call to action. And when Rambo begins plotting his revenge, we, the audience, are on his side, because we have seen the actions Rambo's niece has gone through, Carmen's deceased sister who experienced the same fate, and the broken heart of John Rambo's close family friend Maria. So Rambo's call to action and revenge is justified.
Voy a estar triste hasta que me muera. Siento como si me hubieran arrancado el corazón.
Although a lot of movies follow a very similar retaliatory narrative formula, Rambo Last Blood takes its revenge concepts much deeper than others. This isn't a hero getting payback against scumbags who committed injustice against them. This is a hero getting payback for all the innocent people who had suffered from them, and the hero's sheer will to try and fix the problem themselves. Unlike the previous Rambo films where John Rambo had aid and companionship in his battles, he is all alone this time. The Rambo franchise became legendary for many reasons, one of them of course being the action. When John Rambo is in action, it furthers the plot and drives the story forward, an aspect that most other action films rarely do. Impact in the realism is the name of the game here, which is why Rambo Last Blood and its action is well shot, directed, and put together. Not to mention the cinematography by cinematographer Brendan Galvin, who worked on the popular HBO television series Westworld, is gorgeous and epic. The composition, lighting, and color grading is excellent in this film, especially coming from a film with a low budget. Where most other movies expect you to be in suspense when you have characters or two of them fighting in CGI, bright and colorful environment designs, the filmmakers understood that to make the action in this film very impactful and fear for the character had to be in real danger. Unlike most modern movies made today that indulge audiences in fake green screen messes, it was so nice to see an action film that was fresh and did its own thing in a realistic way, while delivering pure action without sacrificing story and dumbing itself down. The last 25 minutes of Rambo Last Blood, especially its incredible gut-churning final battle scene, are intensely satisfying. Rambo fights his niece's killers, bringing his horrors and tragic past that he and his fallen comrades experienced in the war. A menacing and reference back to the original 1982 classic, and the action gets nastier, nastier, and nastier over the course of the entire sequence. Along with the surprise addition of The Doors' 521, a single that American legendary songwriter Jim Morrison created in 1967 that referenced the amount of Vietnamese to American soldiers in Vietnam, which executed and elevated the tone of the scene really well, while giving the enemies a claustrophobic, visceral network of death and horror that the hero experienced in his past. What makes this final battle scene in Last Blood so intensely satisfying is the script. At its heart, Rambo Last Blood is a story about a psychologically destroyed man, a concentrate of anger and depression, who has found inner peace with himself, being a cowboy, and a surrogate father to his niece. While taking medication, carving tunnels, forging blades and weapons in his spare time to help keep a lid on and cope with his inner demons, gets pulled into a difficult situation where he is forced to fight and become once again what he truly is.
You may try, but you can't get away from what you really are.
What do you think I am?
A full-blooded combat soldier.
What defines a great film, mostly an action film specifically, is the story taking the time to set up the hero. Give us a hero and narrative audience members want to spend time with, so when everything in the story goes south, we want nothing more than to stay with them. For them to survive, succeed, and win. And all the action in the film only moves at the pace which is best for the story, while trusting the audience members will stay with the protagonist long enough to get to the action and bloodshed. One notable very good quality also about this film was its running time. Rambo Last Blood was an 89 to 100 minute feature, a lean running time for a full feature-length movie. I commend the filmmakers and Sylvester Stallone for still believing in tight economical storytelling, which I believe has become a lost art form in filmmaking. Every Rambo film in the franchise were made this way. The film has some of the best intensely satisfying action sequences to ever grace the silver screen in recent times, with a very emotional story with filmmakers and a cast that care that you can feel in every scene. The filmmakers cared about delivering an emotional, captivating action thriller. The filmmakers cared about delivering that experience and put that effort to make it worthwhile. And here's hoping we will see another Rambo film or more similar films made like it in the years to come. A film and franchise about a timeless character that will fight, fight, and fight until he can't no more.